Well, good morning and welcome to the Morning Report. The Morning Report is a production of fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. My name is Willie Lawson. I hope you are great this Thursday morning. We've been trying to get back on schedule, whatever that means. So if you're used to watching the videos, that's great. We are also putting episodes back onto Spreaker, and they are showing back up on the website, fightbackmedia.com, fightbackmedia.com, and there are Spotify and wherever else podcasts are sold. Okay, podcasts aren't sold, but we also have a something else that we want to talk to you about on Spreaker. For those of you who've been watching for a long time or listening for a long time, and especially if you're listening from some other place in the world, to keep this ministry, or for lack of better terms, going, you can subscribe to this podcast for $5.99 a month, $6 a month. And it just takes a couple of us, a few of you, to make sure that the Spreaker bill gets paid every month. The Spreaker bill is $50 a month, to make sure that we get this out to as many people as we can. We got to get, for those of you who are watching, you can tell we got to get some more lights up in here, because this level of light is just ridiculous, right? So there are expenses. Of course, there's internet expense, and that little bit helps. And you know what? You know what it does? It buys me some delicious coffee. Oh, that's hot and delicious. I love that. All right, so that's enough. That's enough housekeeping. Let's go on to the business of the day. Alabama uh, has instituted an interesting, program that I thought a lot of us already did. A lot of people already did. But Alabama has instituted their first safe haven baby box. The citizen of Madison, the city of Madison announced yesterday, a second baby has been surrendered to their first safe haven baby box. Madison Fire and Rescue received a second infant through its baby box located at Fire Station Number 1. News 19 reported the baby was assessed and transported to Madison Hospital for further evaluation, according to the city. The Alabama Department of Human Resources has been notified. The city said Alabama's first baby box in Madison was used for the first time less than 2 weeks after it opened on January 10th. And the word baby box is weird, right? It's a safe haven for a person who's had a woman who's had a child to drop the, and they don't know what to do, and they're freaking out, especially a newborn. And we know we've all seen the amount of depression that happens, postnatal, post delivery depression or whatever, and you just feel like you're just overwhelmed, you can't handle it. There's a box, and on the label of the box it says "Safe Haven Baby Box Drop Off. Please do not open door unless you are in need of services." Okay. A silent alarm will activate. So when you pull the door open, it's usually installed on the side of a building, on the outside of a building, and it is the baby boxes are temperature controlled incubators, often built into the outside exterior wall of fire stations, police stations, and hospitals that can be accessed from the inside. So again, at-risk moms can safely and legally place their newborns inside. Then the outside door locks. Mothers have time to leave before the alarm goes off, alerting first responders or hospital staff inside. So if you're worried about getting caught, if you're worried about repercussions, or if you're worried about that, it doesn't work that way. You can put the baby in the box, and it's temperature controlled. Make sure they're comfortable and taken care of, and in just a few moments, giving you time to leave, a silent alarm will go off inside the fire station, and at that point, someone will retrieve the child from the other side. Okay, and then of course they can assess the baby. And if it needs to go to the hospital, take it to the hospital. Uh, there you go. An organization called Kids to Love spearheaded a bill that passed in the Alabama legislature back in 2023, allowing baby boxes to be installed in the state. It also expanded the state's safe haven law, allowing mothers to surrender their child up to 45 days instead of 72 hours. And I think this is fantastic because with postpartum, that's the word, postpartum depression, um, that can, I don't know, that can, fall down on what on these moms, especially people who aren't just who don't have a support system or whatever. Um, that gives them a month and a half to make some of these decisions. They may not be ready to make them right away, but they, in a month and a half, they may be ready to make that decision. Under the old law, it was only like 3 days, but now it's 45 days. I think that's a good idea. More baby boxes are coming to Alabama, including Prattville, Gadsden, Tuscaloosa, where the University of Alabama is, and Opelika, according to the organization, and that's fantastic. Other states need to institute this. This is part of the pro-life movement, or it should be part of the pro-life movement. It isn't just not murdering the child in utero; it's what do you do after the child's been born? What systems do we have in place? What things are we ready to do to help the child and the mother, especially right away, especially right away when the need is the greatest. So good on Kids to Love in Alabama. Good on the baby boxes. I wish they would call them something else, but good on the folks who are doing the work. Sometimes you have to, there's so much going on. You have to lead with something positive, and that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to do this Thursday morning. Um, the next thing I want to talk about is the Biden administration is doing their damnedest to go around Congress on any number of issues, but definitely on the federal student loan problem. According to Breitbart, more than 150,000 borrowers are receiving emails from President Joe Biden on Wednesday stating that all or part of their federal student loans will be forgiven. In what is really a transfer of debt to the American taxpayer. So these people these folks, a lot of us, borrowed this money, used it to get degrees or not get degrees, but used it to go to school or enroll in school. And we like to think, and this is where we need to really be able to have these open discussions. We like to think that it is, people borrowed this money and went to a Norman State University and just got drunk every weekend and blew the money and failed out, but now they don't want to pay it. Or on the other side, they went to Harvard and got advanced degrees and are, living in New York in a 200 square foot apartment that costs way too much money with a job that doesn't pay nearly enough because they didn't plan. Or they're the doctor with multiple offices that makes $1 million a year who just doesn't want to do it. Right? Though that's why a lot of us are angry or upset about this whole student loan forgiveness thing. The problem is, if you borrow the money, you should pay it back. That is without question. Now, how long it takes you to pay it back, or the interest rate, I'd be okay with a program that says, "Hey, listen, I'm going to sit down with you, and whatever you can pay back every month, if it lasts for the next 25 years, let's do that. Let's just do that." And if you get into a place where you can send more, please do that. I'm talking down to $20 a month. Why? Because some is better than nothing. And this is what we haven't done. We've been so busy fighting, we haven't, and pushing back. And, it is perfectly reasonable to say if you borrow it, pay it back. Okay, so let's start giving people, especially in these economic times, a viable way for them to get back on track. Let's start doing that. Um, and again, my thought is, I think everybody could afford $20 a month. I do. I think if you have been to college, if you've been on a college campus, you could manage $20 a month, right? And you may come up with a system where you're going to pay $20 a month for the first 5 years, and then up it to something else. Tailor it to whatever you have to start getting income, because what we're not talking about in this whole federal student loan situation is, why in the hell is it so expensive? Which is the other side of this conversation, which is actually not another side of the conversation. It's part of the conversation that no one needs to be talking about. Why does it cost so much to go to a enormous state university um, in 2024? Why does it cost so much? What are we not getting for the money now? Those of you who watch me know why it costs so much, because there's one customer. The customer is the federal government. So there isn't any compunction. I mean, the schools have no compunction to make the thing more reasonable in cost. They don't, because if the loan, if the loan fails, then the American taxpayer will show up and foot the bill. So the school is going to get paid regardless. You feel me? The school is going to get paid regardless. So when that happens, there isn't any need or push to explore why student fees are what they are. And part of going to school, especially at Enormous State University. Enormous State University? Oh, that's a Tank McNamara reference. Look it up, Tank McNamara. Um, so there isn't any push on the school to say, yeah, maybe the student fee shouldn't go up 15 or 20% every year. And those activity fees are for all the nice things that you get to do at Enormous State University. The gymnasium that the school, the gym that the kids have access to, all the health center and that's my co-host TC Bell Tobines, Queen TC Bell Tobines the first, and you're going to hear her for the rest of the broadcast. Yeah. So the gym that that the students have access to, all the amenities that when you make your college visit, you think, wow, this is really nice. This is nicer than being at home. Yeah, but all those things come with costs. Uh, Discounted tickets for sporting events, and at some enormous state universities, Duke, Florida State, yeah, you want to get into University of Florida, you want to get into the basketball games cheaper, you want to get into Florida State football cheaper, you want to get into Duke basketball cheaper, and all that kind of stuff. All these things, student fees, right? Student fees, the health center, all that kind of stuff, and tuition, and of course tuition, and especially past the undergraduate level, when you get into the you get into the graduate level classes, that may be hundreds of dollars per credit hour. A class may cost $1,500 to take. $500 a student, $500 a credit hour is $1,500 to take a class. or $800, to take a class that is a under, an undergrad class. Let me use this example that I've used a lot. When I started college way back in 1978, the school that I was on quarter hours. That's how long ago it was. And most of you listening were going quarter hours. Yeah, we had quarter hours. And classes were $11 a quarter hour. For instance, freshman English in the state of Florida, the number for the class is ENC 1101. That's freshman English. 3 credit hours, $33. And the book that they used was E.B. Strunk's Elements of Style. So if you are, if you know, that's the real stuff, right? So that class was about $40 to take. $40. And I'm telling you, I wasn't on, I didn't have a student loan at the time, but I was on scholarship, so that helped. But it was $40. That same class is more at a Norman State University in the state here in the state of Florida, over $600, $600 a day. It's essentially the same class. Why? Why has the price of university outpaced inflation over the past 20 years by 20 times? Why? That's the question that we have to ask. The email that some people got, 150,000 people got, was, "Congratulations, all or a portion of your federal student loans will be forgiven because you qualify for early loan forgiveness under my administration's SAVE plan." The email, published by Politico, reads, "From day one of my administration, I vowed to fix the student loan programs so higher education can be a ticket to the middle class, not a ticket to wealth and happiness and no, so you can be one of the working stiffs, not a barrier to opportunity." The letter states, Biden adds he hopes this relief gives you a little more breathing room. What does relief mean to you? Now, what you're supposed to do is that you're supposed to go to this link, studentaid.gov page, that's not really up yet, and apparently tell them how wonderful this is. It doesn't give you an option to say, no. I'm going to send $20 a month until we get this taken care of. The borrowers receiving relief are the first to benefit from the SAVE plan policy that provides debt forgiveness to borrowers who have been in repayment after as little as 10 years and took out $12,000 or less in student loans. The White House stated in a press release. Per Politico, Biden will speak yesterday, I guess, about the move in an event in Los Angeles, which is a campaign stop. There you go. Now, remember the $430 billion student loan debt transfer plan was struck down by the Supreme Court in June of last year. The plan was criticized for attempting to evade Congress's power to control spending and debts and prioritizing elite college graduates over working class Americans who did not go to college, for punishing them for paid off loans. Because this is, and again, this is a very long subject, and we need to talk about this over some time. We may even do a special program just to talk about this. If you're interested, write it down in the comments. Because this really needs to be talked about. Because the kid that, for whatever reason, didn't go to college, didn't take out a loan, started working at, as a auto repair guy. Now is doing well, is making 70, 80 grand a year, working his face off. Now is saddled with some of the debt that some of his classmates who went to Enormous State University. And there's a fairness. There is a fairness portion of this, an unfairness portion of this, that not for nothing that we ought to talk about. Don't you think? We'll continue this discussion at a further time. So let's get on to the next one. You wondered how come? Well, let's go back. The Kansas City Chiefs. As you can see, I'm not a if those of you who are watching the video, you can see that I am not a Kansas City Chiefs fan. And the only team that has beaten the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl in the past, in their past two or three Super Bowls, has been the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yes, y'all remember Tampa Bay, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So anyway, the Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl 2 weeks ago, and they had their parade Monday or whatever, and there was a shooting at the damn parade, and we heard about the shooting, but we didn't hear about the shooter. We heard that it was a disagreement between some folks, right? Well, who is it? Can we see them? People have been arrested. Cool. Can we see them? So at this point, more details are coming from the Kansas City parade shooting that happened on Valentine's Day. The event commemorated, of course, the Chiefs' Super Bowl win over the San Francisco 49ers. The team became the first to win back-to-back championships since the Patriots did it in 2004. Yet the talk of going for 3 rings faded when gunfire erupted in Kansas City Union Station, which is, I guess, their bus train station. At the end of the parade, at least 20 people were injured. 9 kids suffered gunshot wounds. 9 kids suffered gunshot wounds, though all are expected to recover. Local DJ Lisa Lopez Galvin was killed. 2 youths were arrested. 2 youths, I love that, were arrested and charged with firearm-related crimes, but remain unidentified. 2 adults, Dominic Miller and Lyndall Mays, were charged with second-degree murder. If you are watching the video, there is the picture of Mays, which the Kansas City Stay included in their story about the new charges. Okay, now here's what the editor's note is. The Star, for the first time, is publishing a booking photo for Lyndall Mays, who was taken to the County Jackson Detention Center Tuesday night after being treated at a hospital. The Star had held off until Wednesday to understand why a booking photo of Dominic Miller was not available. The Jackson County Prosecutor's Office said Wednesday morning that Miller is still in the hospital and has not yet been photographed. In addition, we took the time to carefully consider whether to use booking mugs in the absence of other images of the adult suspects. The Star policies use the booking mugs only in the highest profile of crime. So this somehow, that last one, the highest profiles of crimes, like someone gets killed at the Kansas City Chiefs celebration parade, 9 kids end up with gunshot wounds, and this is not the highest profile of crimes? It's not the highest profile of crimes? What? What are you talking about? And and of course the left can't wait to say this is a mass shooting, blah blah blah. Except they don't do that when when the shooters are black. Liberal media always treats these incidents as high profile unless the The details emerge that prevent them from weaponizing the tragedy against Republicans or people who are, Second Amendment people, constitutional folks. Second, it was a hell of a high profile event. Again, a Super Bowl parade for an NFL team that could be the next dynasty in the league for years. I don't necessarily believe that necessarily. They waited because they felt that it was a local shooting. It makes no sense. If it was televised, I believe, and so do you, if the shooters were white Trump supporters, they'd have been Klan members, they would have been white supremacists. Their mugshots would have been plastered everywhere, like it did with Kyle Rittenhouse and a whole other bunch of shooting suspects that were aligned with the left's narrative on these stories. Don't you think? Folks, we have to be, there's a phrase that says, in order to train the animal, you first have to be smarter than the animal. And I say that because we often a lot of you act in ways that aren't smart. You just ignore the things that are important, and you gravitate to the stuff that simply isn't important. First of all, I don't give a rat's ass about Trump's ugly tennis shoes. I thought it was great that if you give the campaign or you send $400 to Trump, you get a souvenir. You get them ugly ass shoes. Okay. If you send $400 to Joe Biden, what do you get? You get a Christmas card. What do you get? Nothing. But at least you get, them $20 shoes. Okay. And if you want the $20 shoes, and they cost $400, buy them. Send them the damn money. Who cares? The internet, Twitter, X, whatever you're calling it, just article after article. I think after thing, it was just it got depressing. What's this stupid? Who cares about that? Listen to these people here. Watch what they do. It is the narrative for these people that is the most important thing. And they'll push the narrative at every opportunity. So if the shooter doesn't fit the narrative, they will try. Even in this situation where it's almost impossible to memory hold this, they're going to try. They are going to try. All right, we got to get out of here and make room for somebody else. So again, this broadcast is going to be up on Spreaker. It's going to be up on the website, fightbackmedia.com. It's going to be on Spotify and everywhere else where you get your podcasts. Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, everywhere, everywhere. Used to be iTunes, but they don't do that anymore. It's Apple Podcasts, all right. A bunch of different sources all over the world. Please go to Spreaker and I'll put the link in on the YouTube. If you'd like to help out just once a month, $6, $6, I would appreciate it. Paul would appreciate it. And we will get back with you on the special on education. Why the heck does it cost so much? Loan forgiveness isn't really the thing. It's why does it cost so much to start with? Anyway, before I get started again, we gotta get out of here and make room for someone else. So until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Bye bye now.